Hello, my name is Katarina Soukup, and I am here tonight to talk about lost rivers. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect nor a historian, I'm actually a filmmaker, and my foray into the world of lost rivers all began, appropriately enough, with an image, a photograph by Andrew Emond. This is a photograph of the St. Pierre River in Montreal. And now you'll notice that while the photograph is absolutely beautiful and intriguing, it doesn't really depict an environment that we readily associate with rivers. And that's because this is a photograph of a river buried into a Victorian sewer, a lost river. And at the time, Andrew's image really blew my mind because it showed me a part of my world that I rarely thought about, sewers underground. And even when I did, I thought they were probably spaces that were really ugly, dirty, and unimportant. But here was an image of a really beautiful architectural space. And that photo sparked a huge curiosity in me to know why these rivers were encased in brick and concrete and no longer flowing above ground. And it was what inspired me, actually, to produce a documentary about lost rivers. And here's a couple more of Andrew's really stunning pictures. These are all from Montreal. And what I learned, actually, over the course of making the film is, and what most people don't know, is that there are hundreds of lost and buried rivers that flow under Montreal, under Paris, under London, under Toronto, and in fact, under every industrialized city in the world. But we city dwellers tend to go about our daily lives driving or cycling down straight grids of pavement without actually stopping to think about the landscape that existed before the city came to be. And so the question is, why did these rivers disappear from view, and how can we reconnect with them today? Once upon a time, before there were cities, many rivers flowed. We built our houses on their banks. Our roads hugged their curves, and their currents fed our mills and factories. But as cities like Toronto grew, we polluted rivers so much with human waste, with animal waste, with industrial waste, that they literally became open-air sewers. They also became conduits for deadly waterborne diseases like cholera, which was the Black Plague of the Victorian times and killed hundreds of thousands of people throughout the 19th century. Our solution 150 years ago was to bury them underground and merge them into sewer networks, where they have since flown out of sight and out of mind. Now, the last time I gave a Walrus talk on lost rivers here in Toronto, I focused on the dramatic consequences that ignoring these hidden rivers has on sustainability and the urban environment. Ultimately, though, as a filmmaker, what is fascinating to me is our human relationship to water. Despite the fact that these rivers have been buried for over 2 centuries in most cases, there seems to be something innate in us that is drawn to them, drawn to rivers and drawn to water. People really want to reconnect with these disappeared waterways. Over the course of making a film, we met all kinds of people inspired by lost rivers, including visionary engineers and architects that are literally peeling back the pavement and bringing these rivers back to the surface to create new rivers and new green spaces in the city. But tonight I want to introduce you to some of the passionate artists that we met who are changing how we see and think about lost rivers and are also helping us to connect to them again. First up is Amy Sharrocks. She's a live artist based in the UK whose art revolves around water and the city. As part of her art project, London is a River City, she led a series of public walks retracing 7 of London's lost rivers. We joined her on a quest to retrace the disappeared Tyburn River through central London with a group of people armed with dowsing rods. She told us that in this very kind of urban world, modern world, there seems to be a dislocation between us and the water that surrounds us and is below us, and that we seem to be scared of its natural state and we're scared to touch it. And she asked us, I wonder what that does to us to live in a city that has little or no connection to water. Now, dowsing lost rivers might seem a little esoteric, But we were really amazed to see all the dowsing rods actually pointing in the same direction during that walk. So there was something really kind of remarkable there. Another artist we met, a photographer named John Doe, and that's an alias, more on that later. He actually does get up close to the water below our feet by exploring, in this case, the Tyburn River, which Amy explored above ground. He explores it below ground. We joined him and 2 accomplices to explore the Victorian sewer in which the Tyburn is now channeled. It's one of the original magnificent brick sewers built and designed by sewer pioneer Joseph Bazalgette, and actually at the time this was considered cutting-edge technology. This is a photograph which was the result at the end of our trip underground that day, and it's actually a composite of about 6 different photographs. By now you must be asking yourself whether urban exploration is legal. And in fact, in most cities, it's not. It's technically trespassing. And that's why most explorers don't actually use their real names when they post their pictures online. However, in Brescia, a small town in northern Italy, a ragtag group of urban explorers were arrested so many times and came into so much trouble with authorities for going underground to see the lost rivers under their city that their municipal government finally asked them to go legit and get organized into a nonprofit organization. And in part, that was because they were the only people really documenting the lost rivers in Brescia. So Brescia Underground, they went from being outlaws to a legitimate historical society pretty much overnight. And now their mission is to show the lost rivers flowing beneath Brescia to as many citizens as possible. And to date, they've given guided tours to about 10,000 people. And you see they have a little red door. Unlike other cities where to get to the rivers down below you have to go through a manhole, they have a little red door on street level and steps to go down. It's very civilized. And their tours feature forgotten gems like Roman bridges, medieval structures, and entrances to ancient mills and tanneries. Now, in Toronto, actually, happily, there are a number of artistic organizations connecting people to lost rivers. Human River combines the arts and community events to celebrate the buried Garrison Creek by exploring its past and re-envisioning its future. And over the years, Human River has organized a range of eclectic events, including art shows and film screenings, arts workshops, and an arts education program in schools. But their most spectacular event, in my opinion, is their annual storytelling parade, and you see some pictures of that here. We filmed one of them where participants wear blue, and they walk the river route, and they literally become the river. They become a human river, and in that way, bring the Garrison Creek back to life. So, I mean, all of these examples, I think, show how the imagination and the arts can really open our eyes to a world that maybe we don't even consider that we're like living in and we're standing above. And they can also reconnect us to water by doing that, to lost rivers, and change the way we think about the world in which we live, much like Andrew's photograph changed my world and changed my ideas about what was below my feet. Thanks so much.